The night was too quiet for a hospital delivery. Normally, when a baby is born, the silence is broken by the most beautiful sound in the world, a newborn's cry. But inside the private delivery room of St. Mary's Hospital, silence lingered like a curse. Harper Williams, one of the wealthiest men in America, stood frozen. His knuckles dug into the steel railing of his wife's hospital bed as sweat soaked through his $1,000 suit. His wife, Elena, lay exhausted after hours of labor. Her face was pale, lips trembling, but her eyes searched the room desperately. "Doctor?" Elena's whisper cracked. "Why isn't he crying? Why isn't my baby crying?" The doctor didn't answer. Nurses exchanged nervous glances. The small limp body of the child lay in the doctor's gloved hands, silent, unmoving. A thin layer of bluish pallor covered the baby's skin. "No." Harper's voice thundered through the room. His chest tightened as if the air had been stolen from him. "He's breathing, right? Tell me he's breathing." The doctor pressed tiny compressions on the infant's chest. A nurse rubbed the baby's back. Still, nothing. No cry, no movement. Just silence. Hey friends, thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to comment where you are watching from. Someone close to you might be watching too. Like, share, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a story. Make sure to watch till the very end because the final twist is something you definitely don't want to miss. So let's continue. Elena's scream ripped through the room. "No, not my baby, please, save him, do something, please." But the doctor shook his head with heavy sorrow. "I'm sorry, he was born without a heartbeat." The words shattered Harper's world. Billions of dollars, power, prestige, mansions, nothing mattered in that moment. All he wanted was his son's cry. Elena sobbed hysterically, reaching out with trembling hands. "Give him to me. I just want to hold my baby." The doctor hesitated, then wrapped the lifeless child in a white blanket and placed him in Elena's arms. She clutched him against her chest, rocking, whispering prayers through her tears. Harper collapsed to his knees beside the bed, his hands shaking uncontrollably as he touched the baby's tiny fingers that were already growing cold. And then, quietly, almost unnoticed, a soft gasp came from the corner of the room. It was Rosa. Rosa. The maid Rosa Martinez was not supposed to be there. She was just the Williams maid. An immigrant from Texas by way of Mexico, Rosa had served the family for 7 years, cleaning the mansion, preparing Elena's teas, and caring for their every need. But in truth, she had become more than just a maid. She was family, especially to Elena, who trusted her more than anyone else in the house. When Elena went into labor, she begged Harper to let Rosa accompany her to the hospital. "She's been with me through everything, please," Elena had insisted. And so Rosa had been standing quietly at the back of the delivery room, clutching her rosary beads, whispering prayers in Spanish as Elena screamed in pain. Now, as she saw the lifeless infant, Rosa's heart cracked in two. Memories flooded back of her own little boy who had died years ago in her arms, born too early, never taking his first breath. She had promised herself that if she ever had a chance to stop another mother from feeling that same agony, she would do anything. Anything. Her hands trembled as she stepped forward. "Señor, señora, please, let me try." Harper snapped his head up, anger flaring in his tear-soaked eyes. "This isn't your place, Rosa. What could you possibly do that the doctors can't?" But Elena looked at her, desperation in her eyes. "Harper, let her." The doctor frowned. "I'm sorry, but it's too late. There's nothing anyone can—" Before he could finish, Rosa gently took the baby from Eleanor's arms. Tears streamed down her face as she cradled the fragile body close. Rosa didn't care that the room was full of expensive machines, elite doctors, and America's wealthiest couple. She didn't care that she was just the maid. She pressed the baby to her chest, rocking gently, whispering through sobs. "Dios mío, por favor, please, Lord, don't take this child. Give him breath. Give him life." The nurses looked away. Harper clenched his fists, torn between rage and despair. Eleanor reached for Rosa's hand, her tears soaking the sheets. Rosa then did something shocking. She lowered her lips to the baby's nose and mouth and breathed into him, soft, desperate breaths of life. She rubbed his back with a firm hand, not gently, but with the fierce urgency of a mother who refused to give up. "Breathe, Niño, breathe. Come back, Angelito, come back." Seconds felt like hours. Still nothing. Rosa's sobs grew louder. Elena's cries filled the room. Harper slammed his fist against the wall, unable to bear the torture, and then a sound pierced the air. Tiny, fragile, but unmistakable. The baby sneezed. Gasps echoed around the room. Rosa froze, her eyes wide. She patted the baby's back again, and this time a tiny wail broke free, soft but growing louder, stronger, fuller. The baby's chest rose and fell. His little arms flailed weakly. His lips turned from blue to pink. "He's alive," whispered a nurse, tears flooding her eyes. The doctor stumbled back in disbelief. "Impossible. We lost him. How?" But no one cared about the how. Eleanor screamed in joy, reaching out. "My baby. Give me my baby." Rosa, shaking with tears, carefully placed the now crying infant into Elena's arms. The mother clutched him tightly, pressing kisses all over his face as her sobs turned to laughter. Harper fell to his knees, both hands covering his mouth as the weight of the moment crashed over him. His son, his heir, his child was alive. He looked up at Rosa with eyes that burned with gratitude and disbelief. You saved him." Rosa collapsed to her knees, clutching her rosary, whispering through sobs. "No, Signor, God saved him. I only begged." But in that room, everyone knew the truth. The billionaire's baby had been born dead until the maid did something shocking, something no one expected. And because of her, the child breathed. The Williams family had been given a miracle. But miracles are not always free. As Harper kissed his newborn son's forehead, he couldn't shake the questions burning in his mind. How did the doctors fail, but the maid succeed? Why did his baby return to life only through Rosa's desperate act? And as Rosa quietly stepped back into the shadows, wiping her tears, she had no idea this miracle would change her life forever. Because not everyone in the Williams world would accept a maid being the hero, and soon the lines between gratitude, jealousy, power, and love would blur in ways no one could have imagined. The room still echoed with the baby's cries, soft and tender like music no one wanted to end. Elena rocked him in her arms, unable to look away, kissing his tiny forehead again and again. "My baby, my sweet miracle," she whispered. Harper stood frozen, still reeling. His chest heaved as though he had run a marathon, yet he hadn't moved an inch. He couldn't stop staring at his son, alive, breathing, so impossibly perfect. "Doctor," Harper finally said, his voice low and sharp. "Explain. How did you declare him gone? My son was alive all along." The doctor wiped his brow nervously. "Mr. Williams, with all due respect, we checked. There was no pulse, no heartbeat. I have never seen this." "Never seen it?" Harper's voice rose like thunder. "You're telling me that my maid," he pointed at Rosa, trembling in the corner, "did something that a room full of highly paid specialists couldn't?" The doctor shifted uncomfortably. "It is highly unusual, but sir, sometimes miracles do happen." Harper's fists clenched. He wanted answers. But when he looked at Rosa, eyes swollen from crying, clutching her rosary as if her life depended on it, something inside him softened. He took a long breath, then spoke, quieter this time. "You saved my son's life." Rosa shook her head quickly, her voice trembling. "Signor, no. I only prayed. It was God." But Elena reached out her free hand, tears streaming. "No, Rosa, it was you. You breathed life into him. You brought him back to me." Harper turned to the staff, his voice stern. "Everyone in this room, what happened tonight does not leave these walls, do you understand?" The nurses nodded nervously. The doctor opened his mouth as if to object, but one look from Harper silenced him. As the night faded into morning, the news spread quietly through the hospital staff. The billionaire's baby had been born without life. and yet he lived. Some whispered of medical error, others whispered of divine intervention, but all of them looked at Rosa differently when she walked the halls. Rosa herself didn't want the attention. She slipped back into her role, fetching warm water, preparing Eleanor's favorite lavender tea, adjusting blankets, tidying corners of the hospital room. She wanted to blend into the background as she always had, but something had shifted. Elena refused to let her leave the room. "Stay close, Rosa," Elena said, rocking the baby. "I want you near him. I want him to feel your touch. You're his angel." Rosa's heart twisted. She smiled softly, but inside fear stirred. She wasn't supposed to be anyone's angel. She was just the maid. That night, as Elena slept with the baby on her chest, Harper pulled Rosa aside. His expression was unreadable. "You've been with my family a long time," he said, his voice deep, controlled. 7 years. "Yes, Signor," Rosa whispered. "You've done your duties well. My wife trusts you. And now, you've saved my son's life." He paused, then added slowly, "That means you're no longer just the maid. From today, you'll be his nanny." Rosa froze. "Signor, you'll care for him," Harper said firmly. "Wherever he goes, you go. Whatever he needs, you provide. Money is no object. I'll double your salary, triple it. Name your price." Rosa's lips trembled. "I don't need more money, Signor. I only did what any mother would do." Harper's eyes darkened. "And yet no one else in that room could do it." "Don't argue with me, Rosa. This is my decision. My son lives because of you. That makes you his guardian as much as his nanny." Rosa lowered her head, torn. She loved Elena dearly, but this, to raise the child of the wealthiest family in New York, when she herself had lost her own. Her heart swelled with both pain and gratitude. "Si, Signor," she finally whispered. 2 weeks later, the Williams family returned to their estate, a sprawling white mansion on the Hudson River with glass walls and manicured lawns that stretched for acres. Reporters swarmed outside, hungry for photos of America's most powerful couple and their newborn son. But Harper had ordered silence. Not a single photo of the baby leaked. Not a single detail of the difficult birth was allowed out. He wanted control, privacy, protection. Inside the mansion, however, whispers grew. The staff, the chef, the butlers, the drivers, heard the story in pieces. That the baby hadn't cried. That Rosa, of all people, had done something strange to bring him back. Some called it holy. Others called it witchcraft. "She put her mouth on the baby, that's what I heard," one of the cooks muttered in the kitchen. "No, she prayed over him in Spanish, and then suddenly he sneezed," said a maid. "Either way," another whispered. "Why is Harper making her the nanny now? Doesn't he see how strange that is? She's just a servant." Jealousy burned quietly in the corners of the house. Rosa had always been respected, but never envied. Now she was at the center of the household. She was the one trusted to carry the baby, to rock him, to feed him at night while Elena slept. And while Elena adored her more than ever, others began to resent her. One night, when the baby was barely a month old, Rosa sat in the nursery rocking him under the soft glow of a golden lamp. His tiny fingers curled around her thumb, his dark lashes resting peacefully against his cheeks. Her heart ached as she hummed a Spanish lullaby, one she had once sung to her own son, Mateo, before he was taken too soon. Tears slipped down her face as she whispered, "You should not be mine to hold like this, but perhaps God gave me another chance, not for my own child, but for you." She kissed the baby's forehead gently, and just then Harper appeared at the doorway. He didn't speak at first. He simply watched, his tall frame shadowed against the nursery light, his expression unreadable. Finally, he stepped forward. "He sleeps better with you than with anyone else," Harper said quietly. Rosa, startled, standing quickly. "I'm sorry, Signor, I should have put him down already." "No," Harper interrupted, shaking his head. "Don't apologize. You've done more for him than anyone else could." For the first time since the hospital, Harper's voice broke, soft and raw. Rosa, I don't know how to thank you. You didn't just save my son, you saved my wife too. If we had lost him, Elena, she wouldn't have survived it. Rosa lowered her eyes, her own tears falling silently. Signor, you don't need to thank me. I only did what God allowed me to do. But Harper's gaze lingered on her longer than it should have. There was something unspoken in his eyes, something heavy, complicated, dangerous, and Rosa felt it too. By morning, the house was buzzing with tension again. Elena, blissfully unaware, was planning a celebration for the baby's christening. Rosa moved quietly, tending to the baby's clothes, preparing bottles, keeping to herself. But the whispers among the staff grew louder. She's getting too close to the family. Harper watches her too much. She'll forget she's just a maid. One evening, as Rosa left the nursery, she overheard two maids whispering near the stairwell. She saved the baby, sure, one said bitterly, but let's not pretend she's some kind of saint. People don't just bring the dead back to life. Something's not right with her. Rosa's chest tightened. She wanted to ignore it, but deep down she knew they weren't entirely wrong. Something about that night at the hospital was unexplainable. Even she couldn't understand how the baby had come back. But as she pressed her palm to her chest and whispered a silent prayer, she didn't realize trouble was only beginning. Because saving the baby's life had given Rosa something she never expected. Power. And in a billionaire's world, power always comes with enemies. The Williams mansion glittered with wealth, but inside its marble walls, shadows of jealousy began to stir. The christening of baby Alexander, named after Harper's late father, was set to be the event of the year. Politicians, celebrities, CEOs, and foreign dignitaries were invited. The press lined up for weeks outside the estate, desperate for a glimpse of the miracle child. But no one knew the truth. No one outside the walls of St. Mary's Hospital knew that Alexander had been born lifeless, and that it was Rosa, the maid, who had coaxed him back with desperate breaths and trembling prayers. Harper had forbidden anyone to speak of it. Yet, inside the mansion, whispers spread like wildfire, and not everyone approved of Rosa's new position as nanny. Elena adored Rosa more than ever. Her bond with her was unshakable, born from years of loyalty and now sealed by a miracle. "She's not just a servant, Harper," Elena said one evening while cradling Alexander on the velvet couch. "She's part of this family. I want Rosa to stand with me during the christening." Harper's jaw tightened. "You know how society is, Elena. The press will tear us apart if they see the maid standing beside the billionaire's wife at the ceremony." "I don't care what they say," Elena snapped, her fragile voice suddenly fierce. "I nearly lost my son. I'll honor the woman who gave him back to me. Rosa belongs by my side." Rosa, overhearing from the doorway, felt her heart twist. She never wanted recognition. She wanted peace, to live quietly in the background, to serve faithfully. But now gratitude was pulling her into a spotlight she never asked for, and not everyone was happy about it. Among the staff, one voice grew louder than the rest: Clara. Clara had worked as a maid in the Williams mansion for nearly as long as Rosa. She was sharp-tongued, ambitious, and bitter. While Rosa was loved for her kindness, Clara had always been overlooked. She had once hoped to become Elena's personal maid, but Rosa had been chosen instead. Now, watching Rosa carry the baby, feed him, rock him to sleep, and receive Elena's constant praise, Clara's envy burned like acid. "She acts so holy," Clara muttered to the chef one night, "but no one just breathes life into a dead baby. Mark my words, something's wrong with her." The chef frowned. "You sound jealous, Clara. Everyone knows Rosa is a good woman." Clara's lips curled. "Good women don't keep secrets, and Rosa is keeping one. I'll prove it." The day of the christening dawned bright and golden, with church bells echoing across the estate. Guests arrived in sleek black cars, dressed in gowns and tailored suits, their jewels sparkling beneath the autumn sun. Inside the cathedral, Eleanor glowed with joy, dressed in ivory silk, holding Alexander close. Rosa stood discreetly in the back, her eyes lowered, wearing a simple navy dress Elena had given her. But when the priest asked for the child's godmother to step forward, Elena turned, and to the shock of every guest, she took Rosa's hand and led her to the altar. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras flashed. Whispers filled the holy space. "Elena," Harper muttered under his breath, his face hard. But his wife ignored him. "This woman," Elena declared through tears, her voice echoing in the church, "gave life to my son when hope was gone. She is not just my maid, she is my family. And today she will stand as his godmother." The guests murmured, scandalized. A billionaire's maid as godmother? It was unheard of. But Elena's eyes blazed with conviction, and the priest, after a hesitant pause, blessed the moment. Rosa's hands shook as she held Alexander at the altar, the child's soft cheek pressed against hers. Her tears wet his christening gown as she whispered silently, "Señor, what are you doing with me?" That night, the newspapers exploded. Billionaire's wife honors maid at christening. Servant becomes godmother to America's heir. Mystery surrounds William's family nanny. Some articles praised Elena's humility. Others mocked the decision, calling it a humiliation to high society. But one detail was repeated over and over. Who exactly is Rosa Martinez? The staff in the mansion read the headlines with wide eyes. Clara read them with clenched fists. "She's not family," Clara hissed in the servants' quarters. "She's just a maid playing holy saint, and now she's in the papers, making us all look like fools." Another maid whispered nervously, "Careful, Clara, Harper won't tolerate disrespect." But Clara smirked. "We'll see how long their precious Rosa lasts. Everyone has secrets. I'll find hers." Meanwhile, Harper found himself troubled in ways he didn't understand. At night, he would walk quietly past the nursery and pause at the door. He would see Rosa rocking Alexander, her soft lullabies filling the room. The way the baby clung to her, the peace that settled over him in her arms, it stirred something Harper couldn't name. Gratitude, yes. Respect, certainly. But there was something else, something more dangerous, gnawing at him in the quiet hours. One night, unable to resist, he stepped inside. "Does he always sleep better with you?" Harper asked softly. Rosa startled, rising to her feet. "Señor, I was just—" "Don't apologize," Harper said quickly, his eyes fixed on the baby's tiny face. "I'm glad he has you." Their eyes met, his, piercing, filled with storms, hers, trembling, full of unspoken fear. In that charged silence, Rosa felt her heart pound in ways she didn't want it to. She looked away, whispering, "I am only doing what God asks of me, Señor." But Harper's gaze lingered too long, and Clara, watching from the shadows of the hallway, saw everything. 2 nights later, Rosa found a note slipped under her door. Her hands shook as she unfolded it. "Stay away from Harper. Stay in your place, or everyone will know what really happened the night the baby was born." Rosa's heart stopped. Who had written it? What truth were they threatening? Her mind flashed back to that night in the hospital. The silence, the lifeless baby, her desperate breaths, the moment he sneezed. Even she couldn't explain it. She had only prayed, but what if others thought it was something darker? Clutching the note to her chest, Rosa whispered into the darkness, "Dios mío, protect me, protect this child." But little did she know, this was only the beginning of a war she never asked for, because saving a billionaire's baby had made her more than just a maid. It had made her a target. The Williams estate glittered under chandeliers, but beneath the polished marble and velvet drapes, unease grew like a shadow. Rosa felt it daily, the stares, the whispers, the weight of eyes that judged her. Though Eleanor clung to her with devotion and the baby nestled into her arms as if he belonged there, Rosa sensed the storm gathering, and at the center of it stood Clara. Clara had made herself indispensable in small ways, polishing silver until it gleamed, arranging flowers in Elena's favorite vases, preparing late-night tea for Harper. But while her hands worked, her tongue spread poison. "She spends too much time with the baby," Clara whispered to the butler. "It isn't healthy. The mother should be the one raising him, not the maid. She sings strange songs over him, she murmured to the chef. Spanish prayers, things none of us understand. It gives me chills. She's bewitched the family, she hissed to the other maids. Elena trusts her more than her own husband. Slowly the poison spread. Staff who once respected Rosa now looked at her with doubt. Some avoided her altogether, crossing themselves when she passed in the halls. And Clara waited, patient, for the moment to strike. Harper had grown restless. He couldn't deny the truth. His son lived because of Rosa. And he couldn't ignore the way Alexander quieted instantly in her arms, the way Eleanor leaned on her like a sister, the way his own heart stirred when he saw her rocking the baby under the nursery light. But the world outside demanded control. Investors, board members, reporters, they all wanted perfection. And whispers about a mystical maid saving his son did not fit the narrative of a powerful billionaire in command. One night, Harper poured himself a glass of scotch and called his lawyer. "Draw up a contract for Rosa Martinez," he ordered. "Confidentiality, lifetime employment. She doesn't leave this house, she doesn't speak of that night, ever." The lawyer hesitated. "And if she refuses?" Harper's jaw clenched. "She won't refuse. She knows her place." But even as he said the words, Harper doubted them. Rosa had never sought money or position. She served out of love. And love was not something contracts could chain. It was a stormy night when it happened. Rain lashed against the windows, thunder shook the mansion, and Rosa paced the nursery with Alexander in her arms, humming softly to keep him calm. Suddenly the lights flickered and went out. The room plunged into darkness. Rosa clutched the baby tighter, whispering a prayer. Footsteps echoed in the hall, too heavy, too fast. She turned, heart pounding. "Who's there?" She called. The nursery door creaked open and Clara stepped inside. Her face was twisted with fury, her eyes gleaming in the dim light of a candle she carried. "What are you doing here?" Rosa whispered, backing away with the baby. Clara sneered. "I'm doing what no one else has the courage to do, exposing you." "Exposing me?" Rosa's voice shook. "You think I don't know what you are?" Clara hissed. "A maid who brings the dead back to life. That's not natural. That's witchcraft. And now you've bewitched this house. Elena worships you. Harper watches you. Even the child clings to you more than his own mother." Rosa shook her head fiercely. "No, you don't understand. I prayed. Nothing more." Clara stepped closer, her voice low and venomous. "Prayed? Then pray now, Rosa. Pray while I take this baby back to his rightful place." And before Rosa could react, Clara lunged. The nursery filled with chaos. Rosa clutched Alexander to her chest, stumbling back as Clara grabbed for him. "Stop!" Rosa cried. "You'll hurt him." "He's already cursed by you," Clara spat. "Better he die than grow under your spell." The words sliced through Rosa's soul. She twisted, shielding the baby with her body, struggling against Clara's grasp. The candle fell to the floor, rolling dangerously close to the velvet drapes. "Clara, please," Rosa sobbed. "He's innocent. He's just a child." But Clara's face was wild, unrecognizable. "No child comes back from death without a price, and I won't let you bring ruin to this house." Their struggle crashed against the crib, the candle flame licking at the edge of the rug. The smell of smoke filled the air. And then Harper's voice thundered. "What in God's name is happening here?" The door burst open. Harper stood there, rain-soaked from coming in through the storm, his eyes blazing. Behind him, Elena gasped, her hand clutching her chest as she saw Rosa and Clara locked in a desperate struggle. "Harper!" Rosa sobbed. "She tried to take Alexander. She said—" Clara cut her off, her voice shrill. "She's lying. She's dangerous. Don't you see? She's not a maid. She's a witch. She cursed your child, then pretended to save him to earn your trust." Eleanor cried out, rushing forward. "How dare you! Rosa saved my baby!" But Clara only pointed a trembling finger. "No one saves a dead child. Ask yourself, Harper, why your son breathed only when she touched him. It wasn't a miracle. It was her sorcery." The room erupted. Elena's sobs, Clara's accusations, the baby's wails. Harper's face hardened, torn between rage and confusion. Finally, he stepped forward, ripped Alexander from Clara's reach, and thrust her toward the guards who had rushed in. "Get her out of my house," Harper roared. "She'll never step foot here again. Clara shrieked as the guards dragged her away. "You'll regret this. She'll destroy you all. You'll see." Her screams faded into the storm outside. When the chaos settled, Harper turned to Rosa. She stood trembling, tears streaking her face, clutching her rosary so tightly her knuckles were white. "Tell me the truth," Harper said, his voice low, dangerous. "What happened that night at the hospital? How did you save him?" Rosa's lips trembled. She looked at Eleanor, who clutched her hand in silent support, then back at Harper. "I don't know," Rosa whispered. "I prayed. I gave him breath. And then he sneezed. That's all I know. Dios escuchó. God listened." Harper searched her eyes, trying to read what she wasn't saying. Finally, he turned away, pacing the room. "You don't understand, Rosa," he said, his voice breaking. "If the world believes what Clara said, if they think my heir was saved by something unnatural, it could ruin everything. My business, my family, my name." Rosa's heart sank. "So, what will you do with me?" Harper turned, his eyes blazing with a mix of fear and something else, something unspoken. "You've given me the greatest gift," he said, "but you've also given me the greatest danger." That night, Rosa sat in her small room, unable to sleep. Clara was gone, but her words lingered. "Better he die than live under your spell." Was Clara right? Was Alexander alive because of her? Or because of God? Did it matter? Her tears soaked her pillow as she whispered, "Señor, if I've sinned, forgive me. But please don't take him from us. Don't take him from her." Across the mansion, Harper sat in his study, staring at a glass of untouched scotch. His mind raced. Clara's words echoed in his head, colliding with his gratitude to Rosa, his unspoken feelings, his fear of losing control. And for the first time, Harper Williams, America's most powerful billionaire, felt utterly powerless. The mansion was silent. But in that silence, 3 hearts beat with unrest. Rosa, trembling under the weight of a miracle she couldn't explain. Elena holding her son tightly, oblivious to the danger brewing. Harper caught between gratitude, suspicion, and something far more dangerous growing inside him. And none of them knew. Clara wasn't finished. She might have been cast out, but she wasn't gone. And soon her revenge would bring the Williams family to their knees. The rumors spread like wildfire. Newspapers screamed lies, protesters gathered at the mansion's gates, and social media overflowed with cruelty. The maid bewitched the baby. The heir of the Williams family is cursed. Inside the mansion, tension burned. Harper grew colder each day, drowning in the weight of his family's reputation. Elena clung desperately to Rosa, refusing to believe any evil of her. "Rosa is the reason my son is alive," Elena cried. "If you doubt her, you doubt me too." But Harper was torn. Rosa could feel his faith slipping, and with it, her place in the only family she'd ever known. Clara, consumed by rage, saw her chance. She returned in secret, her voice dripping venom as she spoke to anyone who'd listen. "She took my place," she spat. "The maid stole my life. And that baby doesn't belong to her, it belongs to his family. But hatred cannot stay hidden for long." Clara slipped past the guards one stormy night and crept into the nursery where Rosa was rocking Alexander to sleep. Her voice was low, trembling with madness. "He should never have lived. You cheated death. And now, I'll fix it." Rosa stood, shielding the baby. "Clara, listen to me. This child is innocent. Your pain is with me, not him. Don't let your hate consume you." But Clara raised her hand, clutching a small knife, her face twisted with fury. The struggle was fierce. Rosa refused to let go of Alexander. Her arms were iron around him, her body a shield. "You'll have to kill me first," Rosa whispered, her eyes burning with courage. And then something happened that stunned them both. The baby, silent, small, fragile, sneezed. It was soft, almost silly, but it broke the darkness like sunlight breaking through a storm. Clara froze. Rosa gasped. The sound of life, of innocence, of joy, it shattered the madness in the room. Rosa's voice trembled as she spoke. Do you hear that, Clara? He chose life. He is proof that love is stronger than death. You can't take that away, not from him, not from me, not from this family. For a moment, Clara faltered. The knife slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor. Guards rushed in and dragged her away, screaming, but the room was already filled with something greater than fear. Eleanor and Harper arrived moments later. Eleanor ran to Rosa, throwing her arms around her. You saved him again. You saved all of us. Harper stood frozen, staring at the maid who had defied death, defied hatred, and still stood unbroken, the baby safe in her arms. For the first time, his voice cracked with humility. I doubted you. I let the world's lies blind me. But you've been the truest protector my son has ever known. Tears filled Rosa's eyes. Senor, I never wanted glory. I only wanted him to live. That is all. Harper stepped closer, placing his hand over hers, and because of you, he does. From this day forward, Rosa, you are not a maid in this house. You are family. The scandal outside slowly died. The truth came forward. Clara's lies, Vincent's twisted stories, and the desperate attempt to smear the Williams family. But the image that remained in the hearts of millions was not of wealth, nor scandal, nor curses. It was of Rosa, the maid who had cradled life in her arms, defied death, and stood fearless against hatred. Eleanor insisted Rosa move into a guest suite beside Alexander's nursery. She refused to let her live as a servant any longer. You are his second mother, Eleanor said one evening, tears glistening in her eyes. When he grows, he will know your name. He will know you gave him back to us. And Harper, proud and humbled, kept his word. Rosa's place in the Williams family became permanent, not as staff, but as guardian, godmother, and honored protector. Years later, Alexander grew strong, cheerful, and kind-hearted, and whenever he sneezed, the family laughed, remembering the sound that changed everything. On his 10th birthday, he ran into the garden where Rosa was tending flowers and wrapped his arms around her. Mama Rosa, he whispered, thank you for choosing me. Thank you for fighting for me. Rosa's eyes filled with tears. She pressed him close, her voice breaking with love. No, mi angel, it was you who chose life. I only gave you back what was already yours. And as the sun set over the Williams estate, Rosa stood tall, not as a maid, not as a servant, but as the woman who turned a miracle into a legacy. Because the world would never forget, the billionaire's baby was born dead. Until the maid did something shocking, and because of her, he lived. Dear friends, what you just saw is only one part of the bigger picture. In the next video, I'll reveal the twist no one saw coming, so make sure you're here when it drops. I would love to know what you would have done in this situation. Drop your thoughts below. I'll be reading every single comment. Thank you so much for watching. I love you so much, and don't forget to give this video a like. Hit the subscribe button and share with someone who needs to hear it.